Welcome to WESTPAK'S webinar entitled Amazon Package Certification Update, December 2018. Hello, I am Andrew Bevel, and I will be your moderator and webinar organizer today. Before we start, let's take a moment to ensure that everyone is ready and familiar with the webinar control panel. First, you should have a control panel on the right side of your screen. You can minimize this panel by clicking on the orange arrow button in the upper left corner. You may expand the panel by clicking the same button. Secondly, you have the ability to submit questions using the chat pane located near the bottom of the control panel. We will be answering a few questions during the webinar. However, if we are unable to address your questions during the webinar, someone will follow up with you by email afterwards. For those of you registered and logged into the live webinar, you can download a copy of the slide deck now. It is located in the handout section of the chat pane just above the questions area. You'll see a few documents there as well. Feel free to download those too, as our presenter will be referring to these documents during his presentation. With that, let's get started. Today's presenter is Andrew Thomas, who is a lab manager here at WESTPAK, a third-party product and package test laboratory with facilities in San Diego and San Jose, California. Andrew began his career at our San Diego laboratory immediately following his graduation from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo in 2010 with a BS in Industrial Technology. During the past 8 years, Mr. Thomas advanced through each level of WESTPAK's rigorous test engineering infrastructure to the esteemed lab manager position he holds today. In his spare time, Andrew actively participates in Big Brothers, Big Sisters of America here in the San Diego area. Here's what we will be covering today. Andrew will start us out with an overview of Amazon's frustration-free packaging program. Andrew will then take us through the package certification process, utilizing ISTA certified laboratories. We will conclude with a few frequently asked questions, followed by an opportunity to answer any questions you might have. Before Andrew begins, I want to review WESTPAK's Safe Harbor Statement with you. This presentation was prepared with the best, most accurate, and current information from Amazon and ISTA known to WESTPAK at the time it was prepared and presented. However, WESTPAK makes no guarantees as to its accuracy or correctness in any way. Also, WESTPAK assumes no obligation for the use or misuse of the information contained in this presentation. We hope that if you do your own research and homework, you'll come up with the same recommendations we have here. Okay, that's enough to get this webinar started. Andrew, the audience is ready. Take it away.
Thank you for the introduction, Andrew. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our second webinar on ISTA 6 Amazon testing. Since our last webinar, there have been several changes and updates to the program, including a big announcement of the creation of the Vendor Incentive Program by Amazon. Talking with our clients, we have realized there are many questions when it comes to ISTA 6 Amazon testing. My goal throughout this presentation is to help clear up some of that confusion and address the most common questions we hear as a participant in the APASS network. Let's begin with a little bit of background. Amazon began the frustration-free program back in 2008. The goal of the program was to reduce waste, lower cost of packaging, all while increasing customer satisfaction with packaging. According to Amazon, since frustration-free packaging was created in 2008, 244,000 tons of packaging has been eliminated, and in 2017 alone, 305 million shipping boxes were eliminated. This is a major impact from a sustainability point of view. Since Amazon has seen such an impact with the program, they created and announced the Vendor Incentive Program in this past September with an aim to encourage others to adopt its goals. The announcement of the Vendor Incentive Program by Amazon was significant and will have an impact for vendors and sellers across the globe. So what does this announcement mean for you? If you're a vendor or seller that sells through Amazon's fulfillment program, your products may be required to be certified by Amazon's ISTA test procedure. Beginning August 1st, 2019, all items sold on Amazon that are larger than 18 by 18 by 8 or 20 pounds or more must be designed and certified as ready to ship. This also includes any packaged item with its longest side more than 18 inches, its shortest side more than 8 inches, or its median side more than 14 inches. There are 3 tiers within Amazon's ecosystem, which we'll go over in this webinar. Tier 1, FFP, or frustration-free packaging. Tier 2, SIOC, or ships in own container. And Tier 3, PFP, prep-free packaging. And don't worry, we'll have a slide at the end of this presentation with the definitions of all these acronyms. This vendor incentive program applies to Tier 1 and Tier 2 package types only. To encourage involvement and participation, Amazon has offered early adopters to receive a $1 credit for all items certified from September 17, 2018 to July 31, 2019. To be eligible, the item must be received by Amazon's fulfillment program and certified by August 1, 2019. Most of what we'll cover today can be found in Amazon's Packaging Certification Guideline document. This document lists all the requirements and goes into details about what is required for certification. This, along with several other great resources, can be found on the About Amazon page in the Design section. I highly recommend visiting this site and exploring to gain a better understanding of the program and the requirements of Amazon's fulfillment process. As explained earlier, there are 3 certification tiers that are part of Amazon's frustration-free packaging program. Tier 1 is the highest and most environmentally friendly tier. Tier 1 must be designed with minimal packaging and all components must be able to be curbside recycled. The next level down, Tier 2 has some similarities with the requirements of Tier 1. Packages that do not meet the sustainability requirements of Tier 1 but still ship in its own packaging will fall under Tier 2. Both Tier 1 and Tier 2 do not require an overpack and must not require any additional prep by Amazon. Tier 3, on the other hand, ships in those standard brown smiling boxes you receive from Amazon. All tiers are required not to have any prep by Amazon and must ship with minimal damage and defect rates. In order to be certified, Tiers 1 and 2 must meet the requirements of ISTA SIOC test procedure, and Tier 3 must meet the requirements of the ISTA 6 Amazon OVERBOX test procedure. This graphic from the certification guideline document is a great visual to help understand the similarities and differences of each tier. The color-coded key on the right breaks down the different attributes of each of these tiers. We've received many questions from our clients asking what the benefit there is to obtaining certification. Amazon created these test standards in hopes to create a more sustainability-focused shipping process. By designing your packaging to meet the requirements, you'll inherently save costs on cutting down material and cut down on shipping error, which basically means your package is the right fit and not too bulky for your product. In addition to the benefits of reduced shipping and material costs, by certifying your items, you'll be able to be more confident that you'll see an undamaged product during shipment. By going through certification, you'll also avoid the $199 chargeback that Amazon will be starting in August of next year. So what are these certification tests that we've been referring to? Amazon worked together with the International Safe Transit Association, or ISTA, to develop 2 ISTA 6 Project Series tests. These tests were designed to simulate Amazon's distribution environment and include tests like drop, vibration, and leak testing for liquids. All of these tests were designed to be standardized and repeatable. As mentioned earlier, going through these tests will show the robustness of your packaging and increase your confidence that the product will arrive to your customer undamaged. The type of damage allowed is determined by the vendor and must have the customer in mind when defining what, if any, damage is acceptable. There are many different variables that will decide what test inputs your package will see for certification testing. As mentioned earlier, the SIOC test standard covers Tier 1 FFP and Tier 2 SIOC package types. Within this test standard, there are different package classification types used to determine what test your package will go through. The type is determined by the weight and dimensions of your package. The typical test sequence includes a series of drops and a vibration simulation test. One important note, in 2018, a revision to the standard was released to include classification types for TVs, which are now Type G and Type H. The TV certification test follows a slightly different test plan and will include a verification that the unit powers on and has no damage after testing. Although the OVERBOX test sequence is not part of the vendor incentive program, it's still important to cover. Those of you familiar with ISTA testing, the OB test sequence is similar to the 3A test with slightly different inputs and a very specific set of packaging requirements. Because Amazon sells such a variety of products and may send multiple items in one shipment, there is a lot of variability with each package that gets sent in an Amazon OVERBOX. This test sequence will simulate a single item shipment as well as a multiple item shipment. To prep the box for testing, the product is placed in its most damage-prone orientation facing the bottom corner. The package is then filled with air pillows and dunnage to simulate a shipment. In the standard, there's a matrix to choose the right size box along with a set of specific hazards to use to simulate multiple items in one shipment. I know all this can seem a little overwhelming, but feel free to get in touch with us and we'll be more than happy to help guide you through the process. This is a table of an overview of the OB test sequence pulled from the standard. We won't go into exact details, but as you can see, this test includes an optional temperature and humidity test, followed by 2 rounds of drop testing with vibration in between. One change to this standard to take note of is that for 2018, the vibration test was updated to remove a top load during testing. With that overview of the test sequences, how do you know if you actually pass? This is where the importance of the acceptance criteria comes in. The vendor or seller must define the acceptance criteria before the start of certification testing. A damaged or broken product will always fail the acceptance criteria. And if your product is liquid, any leakage is considered a fail. All other acceptance criteria is more subjective and is based on what your product actually is. One tip to follow when defining the acceptance criteria is to put yourself into the customer's shoes and think if you'd be excited or accepting to receive the product, how it arrived, and the condition after it has gone through testing. If you're curious to see some specific examples of package designs and the benefits of certification, I recommend you follow the link here to Amazon's case study page. On this page, you'll find several real-life examples that cover several benefits of redesigning the package to meet the tiered requirements in Amazon's ecosystem. Each example will go over how many package components were reduced, the decrease in the packaging volume, and the decrease in the amount of air shipped compared to the original design. I've included Tier 1 and Tier 2 case studies from Amazon at the end of this slide deck. This flowchart provided by Amazon covers the certification process from start to finish. We'll be covering this process and going into details on the coming slides. As a participant in APASS, I want to provide a little bit of details into what it is. APASS stands for Amazon Packaging Support and Supplier Network. It's a mouthful, but basically APASS is a network of third-party facilities trained and approved by Amazon to conduct testing and certification. On top of our ISTA certification, WESTPAK is part of a limited group of about 30 participants to be trained by Amazon specifically for the purpose of certification. The APASS network was created to help sellers, vendors, and manufacturers certify their products in the Amazon network. The group of APASS participants are considered to be experts in the field and were able to be trained and get direct information from Amazon. This allows us to pass along our knowledge and help our clients through the certification process. I mentioned ISTA certification earlier. For those of you not familiar with ISTA, it's an organization focused on specific concerns of transportation packaging. ISTA has created several different test standards to address specific concerns and potential issues that occur during the distribution environment. There are many labs throughout the country that are ISTA certified, including WESTPAK. You can use the link here to find an ISTA certified lab in your area. One thing to note, ISTA certification differs from APASS because not all ISTA labs are participants in APASS. You can think of APASS as an added bonus to the ISTA certification when it comes to Amazon certification testing. Working with an APASS participant allows you to have greater confidence that the engineers conducting your test are trained and knowledgeable in the ISTA 6 Amazon test standards. We'll cover the certification process in 2 parts. To begin, you should have received a notice from Amazon if your product falls under the new requirements. From your vendor portfolio, you select your untested ASIN and find a lab to perform testing. If all goes well and you pass on your first shot, congrats. You then want to upload your certification in Vendor Central and enroll your ASIN. If things don't go so well and you failed testing, you need to make some changes to your packaging. This is where the expertise of an APASS participant comes in. We'd work with you to test your design changes and help guide you through the retesting process. The goal would be to create a more robust package that is able to pass testing according to the standard and prevent product damage. When your design change passes, you would then be certified and ready to ship. The second part of certification occurs when you begin selling and shipping your product. Your certified product is classified as either Tier 1 or Tier 2. During shipment, Amazon uses a machine learning damage monitor to determine if your product is seeing damage or not meeting the customer's expectations when it arrives at their doorstep. If the damage monitor triggers, your product will become decertified and will need to go through certification testing again to show that it can withstand the simulated hazards in the test standard. This was a high-level overview of the certification process. We've helped our clients throughout this process and welcome the opportunity to work with you as well. Here at WESTPAK, not only are we an ISTA certified lab and participant in the APASS network, we have over 30 years of testing experience and are the experts in what we do. We have the flexibility to work with several of your designs and find out which performs best. We are employee-owned and have motivated a team that will go the extra mile to help provide solutions. To begin the certification process, you can follow the link on this slide to our contact page and fill out a short questionnaire. One of our team members will be in touch with you within 24 hours. When you're ready to begin testing, you would then send us new and undamaged samples for certification. At the conclusion of the test, WESTPAK will provide a test report and certification document if your product passes. This document will then be submitted to Amazon, as mentioned earlier. After you obtain certification, we recommend a few tips to maintain it. Any changes to the packaging, like the construction or material, will need to go through recertification. The same goes for changes to the product. If you're observing damage during shipment, your product will more than likely be flagged and decertified. When this happens, it's time to rethink the packaging and recertify. Recently, Amazon announced that it will begin to accept secondary ASIN certifications that will fall under a primary ASIN. What this means is that if you have multiple ASINs for similar products, they may be able to be certified under one primary certification. An example of this would be if your product has multiple different colors, scents, sizes, or weights, but uses the same packaging, then they would be able to group under one single certification. This means the primary ASIN will go through certification testing, and all secondary ASINs will be covered as long as they meet a set of specific requirements set forth by Amazon. The requirements will be sent out soon, but if you believe you fall under this requirement, we can help guide you through the form factor certification. Earlier this year, we did our first webinar on ISTA 6 Amazon package testing. A link is provided on this page, and we went over a few different topics that were covered in this webinar. These topics include how to pass testing for the first time, some failure avoidance strategies, and common failure modes. I want to go over a few of the most common questions we receive. The first is, what is the sample size requirement for testing? This will vary depending on if you're testing to the OB or SIOC test standard. For the SIOC test standard, a minimum of 1 sample is required. For the OB test standard, there's a matrix in the actual standard and will vary anywhere from 2 to 5 samples depending on if your product is fragile or if it weighs more or less than 15 pounds. One question that we get pretty frequently is, if the package is damaged and does not look appealing to the customer, but the product itself is not damaged and still functional, is it considered a pass? This is where defining a clear acceptance criteria in the beginning of tests really helps. It really will depend on your product and package too. For example, if you're sending a bottle of toothpaste, will it really matter if the package is damaged? Probably not, but it might. If you're sending a collectible, on the other hand, and the package is part of the product, it will definitely make an impact and the customer will probably be unhappy and will return the product. So in that case, it would be a fail. So what happens if my package fails certification testing? If your product gets damaged or the packaging doesn't meet the acceptance criteria defined before the test, it's considered a failure. We get this question pretty frequently and have actually helped multiple clients through failures. The first step to take when a failure occurs is to conduct a root cause analysis and determine where the packaging can be improved. The next step would be to redesign the package and retest. You'd repeat this process until you're able to meet your acceptance criteria. This is an area WESTPAK excels at and can help guide you along the way. Another question we get asked relatively frequently is, does WESTPAK provide any design services? Unfortunately, at this time, we do not provide any package design services. We do, however, work with several preferred designers and can help refer you to them. Another question we get asked throughout all industries we do testing for is, what is our lead time? Our lead time can vary, but it's typically within 3 to 5 days. We're very understanding if you need to start testing immediately and can work with you on your own schedule, as long as you help us out and tell us what deadlines you need to meet. So after testing, what does a typical report look like? Depending on if you pass or fail, you might receive 2 different types of reports. If you pass, Amazon has actually provided a template for providing results in the certification report. This report will include pictures for each test input and results for each test input. If you fail, we provide a custom WESTPAK report that details each test input and the areas where we actually noticed damage or the failure. We can also provide suggestions on how to move forward and retest in our custom WESTPAK test report. Another question we get asked relatively frequently is, can I see a test demonstration? The answer is yes. We actually have clients on site pretty much every day watching and observing their tests. So feel free, if you want to come by to watch the test, just give us a call, let us know that you'd like to be here. On this slide, we've included links to the references and resources used to gather information for this webinar. Following these links will bring you to pages providing more information on testing, along with more details not covered in this webinar. This is an additional reference slide covering the acronyms used in this presentation.
Andrew, thank you for this fine presentation. Let's use the time remaining for questions. One of the first questions we have is, I understand that Amazon removed the top load vibration requirement. Can you please elaborate on this?
Sure. First, I'd just like to clarify that the top load requirement was removed from the OV test standard and not the SIOC test standard. The reasoning behind this was Amazon was testing, or they realized they were testing their actual Amazon shipper and not the product. So the reason why it was removed is because the test was more geared towards testing the outer shipper, which Amazon has proven validation for, versus the actual product.
Another question, if we submit our samples for testing and we do end up failing, who pays for the retest?
Unfortunately, the cost of the retest and recertification would fall on to the tester or the seller or vendor. I know we'd all like Amazon to cover the cost of all of testing, but unfortunately that's just not the truth.
Thank you. Another question that just came in. What leak test applies to the test?
For the leak test, depending on if your product is liquid, the product would lie on its side for about 8 hours.
If you'd like to listen to this webinar again, please go to WESTPAK'S website at www.westpak.com. Under the Resources Webinar tab, the webinar materials will be uploaded within the next couple of days. Submit all test questions and quote requests to WESTPAK using the Contact Us link here or tab on our website. For your information, here's a short list of some of the packaging and material tests we offer at WESTPAK, and some of the reliability and life science related test services we perform. We will be sending you a short survey within a few minutes. Please take a moment to give us your input. We highly value your comments regarding today's webinar. You'll also have an opportunity to ask questions and suggest future webinar topics. Please contact us with any test questions, need for information, or when you're ready for a test quotation. Thank you all for attending. I am Andrew Bevel. Make it a great day.